Our third speaker today is Matthieu GOEURY, who's an artist worker based in Brussels. He is currently the artistic coordinator at Voorut in Ghent, Belgium. He's also active as a producer and curator. Matthieu works in the field of performing arts. His trajectory has led him to create a workspace for emerging artists, participate in the launch of the Centre Pompidou in Metz, and program at Voorut in Ghent. During the last years, he created and co-created the festivals Possible Futures and Impossible Futures. Smells Like Circus, Just a Food Program, Same But Different, GIF, Ghent International Festival, among others. He was also involved in the programming of Sant'Angelo Festival in Italy and Fusebox Festival in Austin, Texas. He tries to apply strong ethical principles to the projects he develops based on social political engagement, solidarity, equity, diversity, pragmatism, and responsible seriousness.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yes.
I first want to say two things. I thank you so much to Kun and Hannah for the presentation. That is super interesting, and I'm happy to delve a bit more in the initiatives you're developing in your local context. It seems super interesting. I'm very happy and honored to be joining this talk today. The second thing I should say is I am not at all a fan of basketball, but I have to squat. My kid's bedroom is having some friends over, so I've been pushed away in the in the kids' bedrooms. Sorry for the exciting background. So as Ruba introduced, I'm the artistic coordinator of Voorut, which is an art center based in Ghent in Belgium. Quite a large project and building as well. This is a building actually, so it's itself also a heritage building built in 1913 by the socialist movement, not the Socialist Party, really the movement of workers at the beginning of the 20th century, who in the frame of the World Exhibition that was happening in Ghent that year wanted to show the world the power of the socialist movement. It got built directly with the intention to host very different kind of activities from Horeca, food, parties and meals and balls, but also directly also with cinema, with culture in it, and of course a lot of political debates, a gym. It had a lot of different activities, and also a lot of different lives until in the 50s when it kind of got abandoned. So it was a building that was a bit forgotten by the people in Ghent until the end of the 70s, when a group of youngsters entered the building again and discovered these amazing facilities. It was in a very, very bad state, and this led in 1982 to the reopening of the building, of the project, as an art center recognized by the Flemish community of Belgium. Since then, the project grew until 2017, where Voorut became a Kunstinstelling, so an arts institution, literally. What does it mean? I will explain it in a minute, but there are in Flanders 7 Kunstinstellingen, 7 arts institutions. So Voorut and Concertgebouw in Brugge are the new ones since 2017, and then originally there's 5 others: the Single in Antwerp, the Ancienne Belgique, the music venue in Brussels, the Opera Ballet Vlaanderen in Ghent and Antwerp, also the Brussels Philharmonic and the Antwerp Symphony Orchestra. So we joined that club of very privileged organization. The reason why I mention privilege is as an arts institution in Flanders, so as one of these 7 organizations, one could say that your funding is very stable, and your missions are also very stable. They are very stable because you actually have to fulfill all the functions and all the missions of the Flemish Arts Decree. There are 5 of them, so presenting of arts works, work on audience and community participation, work on the production of art works, research, so fundamental research before project gets created and presented. So the whole fundamental research that happens in the first instance, and then the reflection on the arts, which in Voorut we also push towards arts and society. it's of course it's a lot. It's also very difficult to fulfill these missions in the sense that we don't have the same rhythm. A presentation function, so presenting artworks means basically that you have to one after the other present and develop an audience that buys tickets or are in a sense customers. When actually, if you take the function participation, it is a work that is very slow and very deep, and actually takes a lot of time to get to its objectives and realizations. So in that sense, when we became an arts institution in 2017, it was for us very very difficult to imagine that we could do what we were supposed to do. So we had two solutions instead. One of them was basically fake it and say okay, we're gonna do one production a year or one participative project with a specific community a year, and say okay, we are fulfilling the participation or the production function. We didn't want to do this. We really felt okay, because we are a privileged organization. We have a privileged status in Flanders as a big organization. Again, we wanted to really deliver for our communities, but also for the sector. So the way we did it is by becoming what we call a platform. A platform that you can read on the right. Actually, it's our mission statement. But a platform in the sense that instead of being an organization that decides of everything that happens in its program, in its walls, what we try to do, the way we try to work, is actually in a very transparent way put the resources we have, and there are many. We are a very privileged organization. Fantastic technical team, fantastic cafe, an amazing audience, technical material, a budget, of course, a building that is fantastic, and so on and so on. So what we try to do is actually, before developing the program, so instead of choosing ourselves what would happen within the project, we try to actually discuss with a series of partners. We have a small a series of logos of them here, and these partners are very different. They can be cultural partners, other cultural venues like Ghent or Campo. They can also be the university, for example. They can also be a trade union. They can be a private partner. They can be a trade union. They can be a hospital. So it's a very different kind of set of partners we discuss with. And what we try to do is really, indeed, in a very transparent way, start a conversation with these partners to say, okay, what is important for you? What would you develop actually within a project like Vorut with the resources we have? And of course, we bring our perspective and our own missions we have to fulfill on the table as well. So in a sense, we become this platform of partners that we try to connect also together. And we have a program that is very diverse, because it's done by through many inputs. Of course, we keep a sort of regie, we keep a sort of control and dramaturgy of the whole program, but in general, the who proposes and who develops projects in the project of Vorut is very different. And that was one reason we actually decided to stop saying, when people ask me what is the artistic vision or what is the artistic program of Vorut, my answer is like, I don't know, tell me. In the sense, because there are so many people involved that it's actually impossible to frame everything within one thematic or one direction. And instead, we use this fantastic motto that has been created by reformer dramaturg. Nothing for everyone, something for everybody, which is of course something we don't always reach, but it's what we try to reach all the time. Meaning that in our program we try that what we present, what we develop, is not commercial, it's not only entertaining, it is quite contemporary, it is quite challenging, it is really embedded in what the arts field produces today. So it is a challenge sometimes for the audience, but within the diversity of what we present, we hope that there is something for everybody. To be honest, we are a bit cheating, because one of the things we do also is running a bar and restaurant, and at least, if people come to eat a spaghetti or have a good beer at the cafe, I'm sure everyone will find their thing in Vorut, at least in the food activity we develop. But in general, we try for the program to be as exploded and as open as possible. So when we did that shift of programming in 2017, when we became this art institution, we realized that we could not function as we used to. That was the organigram of Vorut in 2016. As you can imagine, it's a very traditional organigram, in the sense that it had a general director, 5 smaller directors, and then departments under. There's something I would say that in the arts, in terms of the way we are organized and managed today, there's a tendency a bit in the arts to be always thinking that we are 5 steps ahead from a lot of other sectors of society. It's unfortunately not true. So a lot of organizations are still run with that kind of model, and we felt basically, having become this organization that was inviting a lot of stakeholders, a lot of diversity in its program, in its activities, in of course in the communities that were coming in the building, we felt that we could not function anymore in this kind of pyramidal model. So what we did is work on a new organigram, which looks like this now. It's of course much more inclusive. As you can see, it starts with the first circle that is the actual employees of the organization. We are 92 in the organization, so it's quite a lot. These colleagues and workers of the project are still organized quite traditionally, in a way, in the sense that each of them and each of us actually is part of what we call an expert team, in the sense that, for example, there's a team artistic, there's a team of the bar at night, there's a team of production, communication, and so on. There's a bit of a fantasy when we try to reinvent the organization of the structure of cultural organizations that we're going to become. And when we talk about horizontalization, for example, but the project is going to become completely flat, that everyone has to decide of everything. This is really not what we did, and I think I would not advise any big organization to do this. But what we try to do is actually keep still a sort of hierarchy, but within that hierarchical model, to give the possibility for colleagues, for this first circle, to take more responsibility than their original function. And I will come back to this in a minute to close my presentation. So these colleagues are organized in this expert team. Each expert team has got a coordinator that meets every Tuesday morning. That was this morning in the coordination team. That's the green circle you see here. What does the coordination team does? It actually manages the organization on a weekly basis. It ensures the continuity of what we do, and it has two very important things. The first thing is that the agenda is open to everyone in the organization. That means everyone can add an item to the agenda, and also the report is shared with everyone in the organization without being amended at all. That means there's a lot of transparency of all the decisions that are taken in terms of continuous management and weekly management, but is shared with everyone in the organization. Where the horizontalization happens and when the structure is, I think, really functioning at the moment, is in the pink circle, the permanent realization teams. So these teams are basically a place for the organization to learn and to make its procedures better. I take the example of a music one, for example. So there's a music permanent realization team. It's not where the program is made. That is made actually within the artistic team, and in majority, again, within the platform model with a lot of partners. But within the music realization teams, what is interesting is that actually one of the producers, so it's also not the programmer or the artistic director that pilots that team. It's a producer of music. It will make sure that the concerts we organize, every time we are learning from them. That means that if a new thing is installed, let's say a new way of welcoming the bands, a new way of working with a sound rental or something like this, that we look at it, we evaluate it, and we take it for the next one. I think one of the big problems in organizations, in big cultural organizations, is that we tend to repeat a lot of the same activities. At the end of the day, we organize concerts, we organize theater shows, and so on and so on. But we are really bad at learning actually how to do it repeatedly, and almost every project is kind of started from scratch. So these teams actually are really, and have been for some years now, making our working better and making our the evaluation and the learnings of each of the activities we do continuing for the next activities. This is just one example. We need to talk a lot more about this, but I don't think we have the time here. And then the last team that we have is the future teams. That's a yellow circle. There's 7 of them. I will mention them because they are quite important. There's the green Vorud, that's the whole sustainability, ecology question. There's the cafe and the restaurants. There's the social Vorud, the whole question of decentralization, inclusion, decolonization. There's a digital question. There's the strategic, commercial, and financial one. And then there's the building and the monument one. As I said, the Voret is also a protected monument. And then there's the program and the artistic vision one. And these teams, they don't meet a lot. We meet maybe twice a year maximum. And the idea is that we ask ourselves the question: where do we want to be in 5 years, and where do we want to be in 10 years? And to be honest, actually asking yourself this question there, it's actually a way to ask yourself what needs to change, what needs to happen now. But of course, using this future perspective really allows you to dream and to be a bit more radical. And what happens, actually, we created a space for people to be radical and deliver radical ideas, but are not confronted to the current reality. But actually, by announcing them, by sharing them, they become a possibility. So it's really a way for us to challenge the way we work and to think completely outside the box. The last thing I will mention is the little jerseys, the little T-shirts that you see at the bottom. Just to say that was actually the title that Ruba proposed for the presentation. That each worker in the organization indeed has the possibility to have a function. They have a function. For example, mine is artistic coordinator, but we can also, and that's how the structure is financially and in terms of human resources also managed, we can take another role, a role that can be the leader of a permanent realization team, or the leader of a TUCOMS team, or the participant in one of these teams, meaning that each worker actually can involve itself or herself in the organization in a different way than actually what is on the main task. And that has really created actually a very interesting thing, and I will finish on that, is that what we see happens after 3-4 years of working like this is that the cross understanding, the cross knowledge of what each of the colleagues do is much bigger. That means, honestly, today, a lot of my colleagues and myself included, we know what a technician will do. We know what someone at a cafe will do. We know what the communication person will do, which creates a lot of empathy and creates also a lot of solidarity within the organization.
Thank you very much, Matthew. I'm really impressed by your presentation, and it's a fantastic way of concluding, let's say, the presentations and opening the space for a couple of questions. I pretty much enjoyed the fact that you closed actually your remarks by speaking about empathy and solidarity, which is something we are more and more in need of. And we're lacking lately because of the pandemic. It's very important to see how your entrepreneurial journey started in a way because you decided to challenge your traditional organigram, and you actually managed to develop a very agile governance models where people could change roles and responsibilities, but also adapt to new needs in due time. So congratulations. It's a very interesting model from which we should all learn from. And it's great to see how cultural and creative actors can teach even business on how to become more agile, adaptable, and to encompass solidarity as well.